Welcome to the fish tank.
Hey everybody, Fishman here. We're getting close to the end of this project now. This video is going to encompass me putting on this reinforcing arm, which will allow me to keep that upright post as square as possible to the frame, and also allow me to make it adjustable. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a 1/4 inch slot into this bar, and then create another one exactly the same, and that'll allow me to put 2 bolts in, and I can make that all adjustable. And here's the groove. So I'm going to do that again to one other piece. Then I'm going to put 2 1/4 inch bolts in with some washers. First I'm going to show you some sanding here. This is just to smooth out the holes so they slide past each other a bit better. And here it is assembled. 2 bolts, and it's bolted to the upright post and to the horizontal post. And with the slot, it allows me to make it adjustable, make sure everything's perfectly square, and then tighten everything down, and then it'll give me some reinforcing for when I put pressure on. Now what I'm going to do here is make the carriage. It's going to go over the rear post, and it's going to hold the idle wheel. Unfortunately, almost all of that was out of focus. Me resolving my focus issues just means that it's either in focus for the whole video or out of focus for the whole video. Unfortunately, that was just a little bit off, and actually you can see this one here is just a tad off too. I think I'm actually focused on where the vise is supposed to be. Yeah, it looks pretty in focus there. So anyway, because I'm slightly ahead of it, it's not going to be completely clear, but I think we'll get the message across. So what I've done here is I've taken 4 1/4 inch by 2 flat bar pieces and bolted them to either side of the exact same size as the post that it's going to go over. And then with a bit of sanding, this will go over more smoothly. But this is going to be the carriage that's going to ride up and down. Now, the open part that you see on the left is going to have 2 brackets on it, one on each side, and I'm going to make those adjustable so that I can tighten it up or loosen up depending upon how much free play I want in the slide. Now here I'm doing just putting on the hole where those brackets are going to fit. You'll notice that there's a little piece of tape with a number on there. I've lost track of the number of times I've had to take this whole thing apart, put it all back together again. Each time I add a piece or drill a new hole, I want to test how it all fits, and it's just to make sure I remember what order everything is so all the holes fit where they're supposed to be. Now I'm being a lot more accurate here with this hole than I require. It just needs to be a hole, and it just has to match up with the other ones. But because it's adjustable, it won't really matter. So I'm going to drill 4 holes here, 2 in each, and then I'm going to show you how to widen it out. It's just going to put a end mill on here, and it's going to just horizontally go back and forth and just widen it up a bit. There's no real set amount that it has to be, so I just widened it up enough and made them all the same. I don't think it really matters that much. It just has to have a bit of free play. And we'll show you the hole here. There we go. And then all I'm going to do is that 3 more times, and we'll end up with 4 of those, and those slots will allow me to allow this to tighten up or loosen up depending on how I want to do it. And now we're going to get to the hole that really matters. This is going to be the 1/2 inch hole that's going to allow me to attach the idle wheel with its 1/2 inch bolt. And this one does have to be really accurate. I've put the parallel I've been using all along under here. It seems to be working out so far, so I see no reason not to continue. And this is all in fast forward, and it still takes me a minute or 2 to do it, but it actually takes like 15 minutes altogether without all the editing and everything else. I was being a little overcautious maybe, but like I said, we're getting down to the end of the project, and I don't want to have to redo this whole post. So, taking my time, using calipers and everything. Then I'll drill this hole, and then release it, of course, and flip it over, and do the whole thing all over again with the other side, because I don't want to drill down 2 inches, because even if it's off by a fraction of a degree in the turn, it will impact it, I think. And there you go. There's the slide pretty much finished for, well, basically the bare parts of it, right? So here I'm reassembling everything again. I thought I'd show it to you because every time I've done any part of this, I've taken it all apart. Most of it's just hand tightening, but every now and then I'll tighten something up a little bit more if I want to make sure it fits properly. I did not show you me cutting and drilling this post because it's identical to the process for the lead post, which here that is, and it's going to just be assembled here. It just slides back in nice and easy, fortunately. And actually, there's one thing I like about this project so far. It is completely dismantleable and I can put it back together quite easily, and makes any part I want to replace more than simple. And you can tell just by the wobble in that back post, it's nothing's tightened down yet. This is just all preliminary. And I don't have I ordered belt sanders for this. Sorry, the belts for the sander here, and they haven't come in yet, so I am using a piece of string. I tied it to 72 inches, and I just wanted to make sure everything flowed properly. It's kind of sad, I know, but there you go. Not exactly what I would call proof of concept, but it all came together quite well as far as this goes. And now what I need to do here is I'm going to take the two back brackets off of that carriage assembly one more time, and then I'm going to do is thread in half-inch thread holes so I can put bolts in, and then I can remove that clamp and just use the bolts as the tensioners. And what I'm doing here is to keep this hole nice and straight is I'm using the feed from the drill on the lathe, and I'm just allowing it to feed in, and then once the threads catch, I just undo the clamp that holds the carriage in place, and I just let it all basically self-feed in and out. And I screwed a bolt in here just to see if this was actually a better method of doing it, and it spins nice and straight, which is kind of cool. Really unnecessary for this, but you know, I try to learn new things as I go along, and I think that's a pretty good way of doing my threading from now on. So here I am reassembling this one more time. Actually, I shouldn't say that because I'm sure I'm going to redo it at least once or twice more. And what I'm going to do now is show you where the bolt holes are, and then we'll reassemble this whole thing one more time. Oh, and by the way, the belts came in, so I'm just putting the belt on here. Oh, that's right, I forgot about this part. When you get a new toy, you just want to fire it up even though it's not ready. And I hadn't even adjusted anything yet. So here I am holding the motor in place because it's not even adjusted yet. I just wanted to see if it would actually run. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut and thread basically not an idle adjustment, sorry, a tracking adjustment. So what I'm doing here is just drilling the hole, and then I'm going to thread this, and then what I'll do is add a perpendicular hole as well, and that way I can adjust and well, the positioning as well. It'll be easier to see in a second actually when we get to that point. I do actually like this method for threading. It gives me nice straight holes. Unfortunately, for when this piece is, you'll see when I put it in the vise coming up here. Now here I'm using the parallel, but using it in the other direction. And all it's being here is just a flat piece, just so I can make sure that when I put this hole in, it's perpendicular to the length of the rod. So once that's all clamped down, I'm going to drill a hole. And this way, I have opposite directions, so I can put force on the half-inch threaded rod, and that small amount of that small amount of force should be sufficient enough to adjust the tracking. But again, it's kind of hard to think about how it's going to work until I get it all together here, so we'll just wait for that part to come out. There's the hole drilled, and then what I'm going to do is reset here, and unfortunately this part I have to do by hand because it's kind of hard to set that all up. I probably could have done it using the milling machine, but I don't know if I could turn the chuck as easily as I did with the lathe, so I just did it by hand. But it fits nicely, it works, and it doesn't need to be exact anyway, so... And there we go. And when I first started doing this, I thought I was going to make the tracking adjustment horizontal, so this clip is just showing that process, and I was going to put a plate in the back, But after milling the slot, as you can see here, it had way too much free play. It was too sloppy, and even though nothing's tightened down yet, it just all... I fiddled with that for probably 3-4 hours trying to tighten everything down properly and get it all to work, but I decided it was better just to switch over to being a vertical feed. And then also, once I had this bracket, I also decided to recut this entire thing, because it just I found out basically what happened is I just didn't need that much travel space for the idle adjustment. I could do very minute changes and everything would work perfectly fine. So again, nothing's really tightened down yet, but what I've done is I put everything back together with the new main central post with all the new holes drilled. And you can see how I put the belt on here. And it's very easy to put a belt on, as you can see, and then with the 2 bolts, it's just a matter of even just hand tightening down. It holds it in place quite well. And I'm just going to show you one more time how it all goes. You can see it all wobbling here. But even with it done just like this, even with nothing tightened down, when I put on the power and adjust everything, even just minutely, I can adjust the tracking, which is, I thought was kind of cool. I had one of the comments on one of my videos earlier on whether I was going to crown the wheels, but after doing this, also you'll notice that I've changed the sound here. This is actually the sound of it running, and everything's adjustable. As you can see, I'm just doing it by hand. I haven't, nothing's been fine-tuned or anything yet. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a very good proof of concept. And this is pretty much the end of this video, because in the next video I want to put on the front post, like the work surface and everything, and also do a few more things with final touches. And I also want to fine-tune everything and have everything ready. So I'll thank you very much for watching this, and I will see you in the next video. And if you like what you're seeing, please feel free to like and subscribe. And I will see you next. And I'll just leave you with the sound of this thing running.